Welcome to the Freedom CEO podcast. It's about becoming the chief decision maker over your life in order to step into a life of freedom. From business, health, wealth, charity, and giving back to just doing life on your own terms. I am your host, Shay Invidiata. I am an award-winning activist, change maker, and a multifaceted impact entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in business, philanthropy, and health and wellness. In this space, I'm going to be bringing you insights, not just from me, but from incredible thought leaders around the globe to help you start making decisions towards living a life of freedom so you can live a life you love. Are you ready, guys? Because we are going all in. Today's guest is a true heavy hitter. The height of COVID and mandates led to a profound impact on his life and his wife's life. Not willing to comply, Mike Rapson put down his badge and left policing after 17 years of dedicated service. Mike's wife, Jen, her career as a pediatric nurse of 9 years also came to an end during this period. The two of them embarked on a remarkable journey, becoming the founders and co-owners of the brand Non Negotiable, birthed in response to the challenges they faced during COVID. Non Negotiable is a brand built on the foundation of providing solace and belonging to those who have felt isolated, lost, or forsaken. The original Non Negotiable Freedom Collection serves as a symbol of hope, unity, and self-assurance. Mike and Jen understand the weight of silence, often imposed by fear, societal pressures, or family expectations. They are on a mission to empower individuals, helping them to discover their inner strength and find their voices within a larger community. Non Negotiable Brand is more than just a business. It's a reflection of Mike and Jen's unwavering commitment to their core values: family, faith, and freedom. Buckle up, guys, because today's conversation is lit with no filters. Make sure the kids are not listening to this one. There's a few swear words. So today on the Freedom CEO podcast, I'm going to give you the warning right now. Not only will this be unfiltered, there's probably going to be some heavy F-bombs coming through. I'm going to apologize to my mother right now because she knows she needs to listen to this episode. But Mom, you'll see it's not just me. And if you yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, Mom.
And if you have followed him on Instagram, you totally know Mr. Mike Rapson is joining me on the Freedom CEO today. Buckle up because it's going to be full steam, full blast. Mike, welcome.
Thank you for having me on. I love it. Been pumped since we talked about this back at MYM.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So we hadn't met this entire time, you and your wife, Jen, and I've seen you guys from afar. And I'm still surprised actually kind of today when I drop your name sometimes to be like, the former police officer, and people are like, no. Usually I get like, rap something, like that's all people kind of know. But it's been a really cool journey to watch your story, your voice, and also I want to say like your passion. Like I watched you from the beginning and then really actually finding like your voice in this movement. So let's start there. Like for those who maybe don't know you, they're going to know you after this episode. For sure.
Yep.
But you were in policing. What happened? Why are you not there anymore?
Well, 2020, 21, 22 happened. The last 3 years happened where they, like the shirt you're wearing, they found my line, which I never thought would ever happen. To be honest, I thought I was going to be a cop forever. At least the fun part of the job I absolutely loved. But I couldn't take it anymore come mandate time. And along with Jen being a nurse, they met our line and it just felt so wrong. And like we talked off Mike, we had our side gig of buying and selling our own real estate, which had just happened like a month before we were told that at least Jen was going to be fired. So the stars aligned. I think it was all meant to be. and I've said on a few other podcasts, I don't even know if I'm not really angry anymore. I mean, I can compartmentalize it where like
Right.
people that cause this, like I would love to punch them in the face, and I think they're disgusting humans, and some of them should be put to death, to be honest. But now I'm just like I met you, I met Sarah, I met all these people, and I'm like, this is so fucking cool, and you know, and then the whole non-negotiable thing just like sort of happened, and then I should say it's probably blowing up now. It's so cool. I don't even know what's going on really. But and then the real estate thing, you know, that puts food on the table for the kids. It's like everything was meant to happen this way.
Totally.
Not to say it wasn't completely fucked up, but we're
And
here.
put into perspective for people, because you know, you were in policing for a long time, 17 years.
Yeah.
And
My
how
17th
long?
year was when I left.
And Jen was how long in nursing?
I think she was just about 10 years as a pediatric nurse in Newmarket. It's one of the bigger, like just under sick kids. Like if you're from Toronto area or even Canada, you know, like sick kids in Mount Sinai are like the number one like pediatric hospitals. And then Jen was the next level. So she was busy, you know, loved it. She's such a fucking good nurse, which is sad. But yeah, so we were both neck deep in our careers. I was over halfway and decided that was it.
And what was like the pushing point, like that brought you to the line in the sand?
It was definitely when the mandates came and I was forced to test every week, twice a week, based on my schedule. I knew it was wrong. I knew that everyone else in my office that had taken the vax could carry it. Like I already knew that Jen's coworkers were working with COVID who had the vaccine. I just knew how stupid this was and how wrong it was. And, you know, on top of the fact that, you know, we're trying to get mask exemptions for our kids in school, and like everything was just piling up. I'm like, you guys are all fucking insane. And I want nothing to do with this in terms of what's going to happen with like when the convoy happened and the bad days of the convoy where they rounded up all the people. I knew that was coming. I could feel it coming. I was very outspoken about the mandates, and I was outspoken about like I would never ticket a single person for like having a party or going to work or not shutting down their business. Like I told my bosses straight to their fucking faces, I'm never doing any of this. You do yourself. And towards the end, like I was really, really loud on Instagram, but I only had like 300 followers. So I was like talking to like a couple people.
Right.
And like I didn't hide that I was a cop either. I think the quitting is what sent my message over the edge, but I was yelling from the sky. And a few bosses came up to me separately, not even knowing that they reached out to me, and they're like, Rapper, they're watching you, you better watch it online, they're gonna fire you. I'm like, fuck, bring it. At this point I don't care. Right. And then I quit, so it didn't even matter. But
and how did, like, when obviously I'm sure that wasn't like a shock, but how was your decision to resign from something that, you know, as you just mentioned, you thought you were going to be a police officer for life, 17 years? That's like, you're set up on the cushion there. Like you're getting, you know, you're getting up there in your years. What type of effect do you think that had on the rest of your, you know, not just even your unit, but like where you're stationed?
like when I decided to leave,
Yeah.
it was mixed. I had a lot of people that were super happy and proud of what I did. I had some people that were angry, which was funny because like at work, I was always the lippy copper. If a sergeant came in and said, we have to do this because the community wants this, or some political dog shit decision, I'd be like, nah, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's stupid. And I'm just going to go arrest people because I'm not here to, you know, write tickets to nice people or do stupid shit. So I was always pretty mouthy. So I'm sure a bunch of bosses were happy when I left. But yeah, even people that always enjoyed because I would stick up for the boys and girls. Like I didn't care. I was always sticking up for like, you know, the guys and girls at the bottom. And then, you know, I guess when I spoke up and I ended up getting a voice and a following, those that disagreed with me all of a sudden didn't appreciate my personality and the fact that I speak up when it needs to happen, even if it's gonna fuck me, or I was never getting promoted. Not a chance.
Yeah.
I didn't really ever care about any of that stuff. I just there's right and there's wrong, and if it needs to be said, you say it.
Totally.
Right.
And when you look at like now today, like fast forward, have you seen a change in like that tune from some of your colleagues?
I've had, well, there's some that like they're fractured relationships that'll never be better, which is fine with me because they're fucking cowards and frauds. But I think a lot know that what they did or what they had to do, whether it was take the vax to provide, which I don't fault anyone for that. I think if it comes around again, I will have different opinions. Like if there's whatever shutdowns want to come in the future, like I've told a lot of close friends, like you're gonna have to pick what fucking side are you on, because what happened the last 3 years was completely wrong. And if it happens again, then like I'm your enemy, unfortunately.
Yeah. When it happens again.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Like,
let's hope that like everyone grows some balls and like just says no. Like,
yeah.
like again, we were talking off mic about I had to go to the hospital for some x-rays, and I walk in and they're like, you have to wear a mask. I'm like, no, with a
Yeah.
big smile on my face. I'm not wearing one. I don't care
Yeah.
what your rules are. And she almost made it sound like I had to leave. I'm like, so can I not get care today? And then you just push them. And I ended up getting care. I had to tell 4 people off that I'm not wearing a mask, and I did it with a big ass smile. Like, you don't have to be confrontational, but like if someone
Yep.
ever tells me you can't do this or you can't go there, no, fuck you. Like, I don't care what you say. Like, if there's a stupid rule that comes into effect, I'm breaking it. And I'm already teaching my kids that, and they're only 7 and 6. If
Totally.
they banned cartwheels at school a few years ago, I'm like, right, go do cartwheels. I don't care. It's a stupid rule. If they have a
So
problem,
dumb.
they can call me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or like the one that like you can walk through the restaurant, you have to wear a mask, but the moment you sit down at your table, like you can take it off. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's magic.
I don't
Magic
understand.
science.
Totally. Yeah. I know. Like way too smart for us, But I say when because I mean, not even that I have to ask you, we know that really the past few years was like the first test, just to see how far, how quick we can push, control humanity. And I think there's a really big opportunity right now. And we've already started to see it, right? On social media, some people posting saying, like, next time, if more of us say no, it shouldn't get to what we experienced. And so I think that's really the importance, and people like yourself, me, other people in our freedom community to continue to speak up so that others are also encouraged and inspired and know that they're not alone, because it's not easy to do what you guys did, like literally walking away from careers, watching friends, longtime friends and relationships dissipate. So
Yeah, I just hope the people that are like questioning what happened, or they're like almost on the fence now, like we have to make them feel welcome. Like that's where it's like, join our team. Like
totally.
I don't give a shit if you took a vaccine, or if at one point you thought I should get fired. I don't care, because you were so mind fucked by such horrendous, horrible humans
Yeah.
that how can I fault you? Like I sit down at Thanksgiving with some of my family and the older generation. Like you can tell they listen to CNN and their brains don't even work. And I don't say that in a mean way, but you're just so mind fucked that I feel bad for you. Like I don't even like.
Yeah.
There's some
Well,
people
it's
that,
such a conditioning, right? Like it's brainwashing completely.
oh, big time. So the people that are on the fence, we got to get them over. We got to get them to just join the team, because we're the normal one. Like we don't like the same people that thought that or planned this, or that actually thought like you should, if you don't take a vaccine, you should not get healthcare, or if you don't take it, you should be fired. And they're proud of it. And they still think that. They're the same people today that want to butcher a 12-year-old to change genders. It's the same fucking people.
Yeah.
It's the exact same people that are pushing all the completely insane things. So I think they timed this one wrong, because now they're going after the kids. You've got Muslims and Christians banding together and marches like speaking the same language.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone's starting to take notice, like, okay, maybe this is insane where a boy is going to compete against girls, or a boy is going to trans whatever, and then fight people in MMA and hurt the women. Like, I think they've come after the women and kids a little too soon, which
It's interesting though, because, and this is like raw and real. Like Mike and I have not talked about this offline. It's interesting because, I have an anti-human trafficking organization that fights, human trafficking in Canada called Freedom. And we received a lot of backlash on our Freedom Instagram page around, it's the same narrative. And unfortunately, to me, it's so wild. Like, it's so crystal clear, like you just mentioned, like it's all coming from the same side with the same agenda, and they keep pushing these wild things. And then if you're against it in any capacity, even if you question it, you might not even be against it yet, but if you're questioning it, it's the same narrative. You're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe, you're a whatever, anti this. And that was all of these comments like coming in and being like, wow, really sad to see that at the core of Freedom, as the founder, that's at the core of this organization. And it's something I'm working through with my own team right now, because, and I think the challenge is because there's these religious groups, and this is where for me, I'm like, God, I really actually wish it was other people. I wish that there was no, like, there wasn't Muslim, that there wasn't Christian. It just so happens to be that way. And then therefore it's really easy to go, well, this is an anti for a certain group because there's a religious component. And it's getting very convoluted with a group of people versus actually what the facts are around stealing the innocence of a child. And literally will turn into exploitation, and all kinds of atrocities in between. But to your point, I do think that, yes, in terms of their timing, that this actually has helped to wake up some other people, a whole other group that maybe would not have been seeing the way that we're seeing, but because it's now like you're coming after the kids, which I've been saying that since day one. And like the moment they come after the kids, especially the moms, you just don't fuck with moms. Like that's a whole type of like mama bear beast, right? Like that you just don't do it. And the moment you do that, which they started, right? They tried during COVID. That was, I think, the first attempt was like vaccinating the children between 12 to 16. And then it was like under 12, and
or above 2 or something at the end.
Or above, exactly. And I think this is like round 2, where it's like coming after the children, and like, not to get it twisted, like this is what's actually happening in schools. People do not understand the literature that is being taught. Like I even equate it, like imagine strippers coming into school and having story time with kids. What planet would we ever be like, it's okay? But when you have men who are dressing in women's clothes, half naked, doing a drag reading, it's like all of a sudden, like that is okay. Even in policing, you remember that? I don't know. I don't think it was York Region. It might have been York Region though.
Was there drag show reading?
It was it was some police like luncheon or something. And they had drag queens come in dancing around, and like literally a couple of them like giving like police officers lap dances. And I look at that and I'm like, yo, those are, I mean, it's not my jurisdiction, but it's still my tax dollars in some ways going towards that. And if it was the other way around, imagine police officers bringing in strippers and you guys getting lap dances. It would be like, this is fucked. But then you say drag queens and it's like, oh, but we're being inclusive. What?
Yeah, it's really strange. Like here's the biggest part. There's no other group of any kind of, like, whether it's like construction workers or clowns or fucking pick something that
Yeah.
desperately want to read to children.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. Like,
Totally.
and I've had actually before I even had kids, I remember one of my buddies saying he has 2 boys and he's like, my sons will never babysit because boys don't babysit. And I'm like, I don't know, sure, I guess that's okay. And then now I have kids. I'm like, yeah, no fucking way is a boy ever babysitting my kids. It's fucking
Right.
weird because
Yeah.
most predators are men.
Right.
So why are we fighting to, why are we even allowing grown
Yeah.
men who are desperately wanting to read books to kids? It's just so fucking weird.
Totally.
And it's like, it's mind boggling. But I know because so many parents walk up to me, especially in the schoolyard or they DM me or whatever. Like people that I know are not vocal whatsoever at all on social media. They 100% disagree with what's going on. And I really believe that these conversations are taking place in their homes. And
Yeah.
if they aren't, and you're listening and you're one of these quiet people, please, God, there's like an innocent way of like bringing it up with your kids. Like Riley doesn't know she's our oldest. She's 7. So she doesn't know why Jen and I quit. They don't know, like we shield them from everything that we can as best as we can. But I've asked her, I'm like, Rye, you know how boys are sort of dumb. And she'll be like, yeah, right. And like, have any boys ever come into the bathroom at school, like by accident or anything? She goes, nope. I'm like, cool. If it ever happens, just let me know. That's it. Done. That's dealt with. So I'm already prepping her to think these things are weird.
Yeah.
If a teacher ever says X, like boys can be girls and girls can be boys, she has my full permission to be like, my daddy says that's absolutely untrue and that you should call him right now. Like it's
Totally.
right. And I think, unfortunately, these conversations that never had to take place when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, which I think was the best time to grow up in the last 100 years, they have to happen now, unfortunately, because I think there's too many rogue teachers, and I think all the good ones are too quiet. It's like all the good cops were too silent. So you almost have to like get your house in order and protect your kids your own way if you're going to even send them to school. And that's another battle that we fought with in our minds, right?
Yeah. Well, and as like you're talking, I also feel maybe for some people listening and just in light of what I shared with you at that march, it's like missing the point. Like when I was younger, I don't know, when I was like, I lived in Vancouver when I was maybe 23, 24, but like I worked at a drag bar. Like literally, I worked at a drag bar every Saturday and Sunday. We would have huge brunches, drag shows. I was a server there. I lived in Gay District. I didn't just work there. I lived on Davie Street in Vancouver. Like so many of my peeps and close peeps of mine are gay. Like this is not, the issue is not around drag, trans, whatever, right? This comes down to the kids. And that's why I'm like, I feel like even for some people maybe tuning in, I'm like, you should know this. Like I'm like in that world, not like as much now, but like I like have no issues with that. And that's like not what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, not at all. My older brother's gay. We have his full blessing. Take your fucking kids out of school every single June. Pride is not what it used to be. He used to DJ downtown Toronto. We would go down, support him at the Pride Parade.
Yeah.
Not a fucking chance would I be going down there. It is perverted. It's been hijacked. It's not what it used to be. Every gay person I know is against this stuff.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with who you want to blow or who you want to fuck. It's like, I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Yep.
And as long as it doesn't involve kids, do whatever you want. Don't care. If you want to, if you're 30 and you want to chop your dick off, have at it. Go for it. All right. I honestly don't care. That's irrelevant to me in my life. All right. But like you said, I think you said like our babies are like, they're pure. They're like, like once they're older, that's gone. Like the world affects them. Things suck. All the adult things happen. Like my 6 and 7-year-old, as best as we can, like I want them to be innocent, pure, like awesome kids, like enjoying life without worrying about money. Fucking weird adults. Like they know that here it is. Yeah. They know that strangers, you got to stay away from strangers. They don't know why. They don't know that they're going to abduct them and kill them or rape them. They don't know any of that shit.
Yeah.
Because that's fucked. You don't tell them, You don't expose their minds to this crazy, horrible shit like you've been doing against like the child trafficking.
Yeah.
The shit I saw at work. Like they thought, oh, daddy's a cop. Cool. Yay, cops and robbers. Never any of the really horrible bad shit.
Yeah.
Because they're fucking kids.
Totally. You have to like in a child appropriate way. And as they get older, you layer it, right? Like I always say, it's like no different than like reading. You when you first start to read, you're learning all the 3 and 4 letter words, right? Like you're not learning the hard stuff in the beginning, and you have to build. And as you grow and as you get older, that conversation starts to evolve, and you can layer that in. But it is so, and I love how you and Jen are navigating this as parents, because one of the things I talk about often around human trafficking is you need to empower your children. And so you have to be having these conversations. And I've been doing this for 14 years in Canada, talking about this, saying, if you're not having the conversation with your child, I guarantee you somebody else is. Yeah. And that somebody else may not have your child's best interest, and maybe the first thought of perversion, of twisting it, of exploiting it, whatever it is. And so we can no longer be afraid or wanting to, I'm going to say, shelter them, even, because you're actually doing the harm by not having this conversation. And also by not having the conversation, your child then does not know if they could actually come to you if something seems off or weird, or maybe what mommy or daddy wouldn't agree with, right? And so you've laid the foundation so that anything that your daughter might see, she's going to come to you and be like, I don't know if this is weird, but this is what happened. Is it weird? Is it not weird? Like that line of communication is so powerful that you guys are doing. And that she's not afraid to now come in and speak to you. Like as a parent, that's crucial.
Yeah, and I hope it never changes, because like it's funny. She's like, I have a boyfriend. Fuck, I can't remember his name is. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, does he know? She's like, nope. I'm like, so
great,
like, right? Like this is what we're still dealing with, right? But yeah, like I hope that never changes. And obviously, like again, like the girl conversation, if she needs to talk to Jen, or even like, like come talk to me. Like there's some conversations like I don't really want to hear, but like again, like I'll protect you forever. So whatever you need, right?
100%. Yeah. Mike, you brought up something earlier that I think also too for people listening, because you had mentioned how more and more you believe that this conversation is being had around the dinner table, behind closed doors. You might not see it on social media from certain people, but that these conversations are being had. And for me, it's twofold. One, I don't believe that it's everybody's calling to be on Instagram or Facebook and using their platforms to speak out, to fight, whatever. We all have a different role to play, and we all can't be doing the same things. If we were, nothing would get accomplished, right? And so I think for some people, like they need to have that permission to know and not feel guilty and not even feel shameful that maybe they're not speaking out on their platforms. But what I do want to offer to people is that, and I actually, I spoke at the walk I was at, because obviously like, you want to give me a mic, I'll totally take it, And one of the things I said was, never in my life did I think I would get involved with politics. It's kind of like taxes when you're younger. You're like, that's so boring as shit. I don't want to. But then you're like, oh, if I learn more about taxes, I learn how to keep more of my money. And so that's interesting. And in the political arena with Freedom, it was like, wow, I can do all of these campaigns. I can do these walks. I can do this public speaking engagements. I can speak to the parents. I can speak to students, but I'm going to be on a hamster wheel forever if the change actually doesn't happen at the policy level. And so as much as the walks are powerful because that encourages other people and we're raising awareness, for those that are uncomfortable or do not want to be speaking out publicly, the most impactful thing we all actually can do is contacting the school trust boards, the trustees, and also like the politicians at the councillor level, which is your municipality. go to the province because they're the ones that handle our curriculum. And then at the same time, you want the federal government to also hear it, and it is so important to be contacting whoever your member is in your riding, but then actually also going to the school boards, to the trustees, to make your voice known there. Have you guys done anything like that, or do you know people who are doing that?
I've actually made a lot of phone calls.
Okay,
So
cool.
if anybody familiar with Durham region, likely one of the wokest, disgusting school boards and areas. I never thought I'd be saying that. They actually muzzled one of the trustees from even, so they muzzled her and took away her right to vote.
Wow.
So, so I've reached out to two. I've bothered my mayor. I've bothered the DDS, or the Durham District School Board Instagram page, which now I'm blocked from.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, and I've talked about running for council in my hometown just
Cool.
to see, like, I want to know, because I truly, deep down in my core, or we wouldn't have started this, because I truly believe that most people at some point are going to be wearing this because they think, like I've actually said, that logo stands for stay the fuck away from my kids. And
Yeah.
I've had people be like, Rapper, how do you say that? Like, isn't your broker going to get mad? I'm like, I don't give a fuck,
Yeah.
because I know everyone feels this way. And if
Yeah.
you don't, then you're a weird person. And I don't want you wearing my stuff anyways.
Yeah.
So in running for council, I just want to see, like, I'll run on a very honest platform. I think all these things are crazy. I need to protect all of our kids, and then see what happens. If it's like a landslide, then we know.
Yeah.
If it's not, then maybe we need to move, because I don't want my kids being stuck with shitty choices as spouses in
Yeah.
15, 20 years.
Totally.
Right.
Well, and even that, like I've said to people, our mutual friend, the NEAT, she says to me often, even pre-COVID, because of Freedom and the work that I do there, she's always like thanked me because they don't have children. And she's like, you don't have kids. And it just, I guess it moves her that I stand up and I fight, even though I don't have kids. And I say to people, this is not just a parent fight. Like we are not only just fighting for the future generation, but you're fighting for the world you want to be living in. And one day, if I do have kids or my nieces and nephews, or just like what life is going to be like in my older age. And when you think of that, this becomes everybody's issue, to be standing up and to be fighting and speaking out against what's happening in everything. Freedom, the kids, all of it, right?
I love that you said that, actually, because when we created the protector hoodie and we went back and forth on what to call it, because there's a mother bear and cubs, and I'm like, if you call it mama bear, I'm like, that sort of excludes all the women who are badasses, like Sarah, yourself, all the women that don't have kids yet, or that can't have kids, or that whatever, right? Not
Right.
everybody
Yeah.
makes that choice. It's just you can't, right? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
or whatever. So yeah, actually, I've been so happy with the women in this fight. Like, I'm so proud of them. The men, on the other hand, I'm a little disappointed in. And I hope that doesn't come across too whatever, but like, fuck boys. Like,
Lay it down, Mike.
well, like, other than like we're put on earth in some part to fight back and protect our women and protect our kids. And like, fuck, where are they? Where are you guys? Because I've honestly seen the majority of all these rallies or protests or online, the women are kicking your asses. And not to say that like it's sort of off though. Like, the fucking men fight wars, right? The majority of people that need to protect, if it goes super sideways, has to be the fucking men.
Right.
Where are you?
I
I don't know.
agree.
Like, I am definitely disappointed in this context with men, because I think that they fucking lost their way. And maybe that's the whole attack on masculinity, because like it's wrong and the patriarchy and fuck, and right. I think I guess the propaganda and the media and the world did their job and really neutered a bunch of men, because I ain't seeing what I'd like to see out there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I very much agree. And not just like on this. I mean, we can look at economics and like just even like men in business as well today, and like that role, and how many more women feel that they need to be. And I mean, you're on the Freedom CEO podcast. Obviously, CEO is like a huge thing for me, but it doesn't, yes, it does carry the context of actually being a CEO in business, also in your life. But so many more women feel today that they have to be in their masculine. They have to be the provider, the protector, because where do you see, and how many women, I'm sure you guys meet, you and Jen meet, that you're like, wow, you're like such a cool chick. How are you single? Like, and it's like, well, show me where there's a good guy, great guy that is willing to fight, willing to stand up, able to provide all of the things, like really stand in what you were saying earlier. I believe in very much in that tradition. Like, that's your role. And it doesn't diminish mine. Like, that's actually your role. And we're equal, but we do different things. We have different roles.
Yeah. There's a beauty in what you just described. Like, I've actually said out loud in a group forum where I'm like, men can't fucking do what women can do with children, like the nurturing. And then there's fucking some feminist there, and she's like, well, I'm offended. Like, what do you mean? Like, as if I'm saying like, I'm not going to change the diaper, or I can't do that, or I won't do that because I'm a man. I'm like, I'm complimenting women here. Like, fuck, like, yeah, in our house, I'm the one that's going to protect us because I'm the fucking man. That doesn't mean I speak down to my wife. Like, there's something beautiful in what they now like downplays the patriarchy and all that stuff. But like, I don't know, like it's like people of today who were like born in like the 80s and 90s who had like a badass upbringing. They pretend as if they grew up in like the 50s and 60s when women were treated like shit. Like, stop it. Fucking stop. It's not like that anymore. In some houses, things are horrible. Don't get me wrong. But for the most part, I believe that most are okay with that, like the nuclear family and just growing up like that. I know I did. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, 100%. And also too, I'm sure, like, I'm going to speak kind of for you, and I know you'd correct me if you disagree. It's also, what you're not saying is that you're not going to not change the diaper. Like, it doesn't mean because you're the man and you're the protector that it's like, no, that's not for me to do. That's a completely separate conversation. But like, when a woman feels loved and provided and protected for, she honors her partner in such a way that the man feels so respected that you take delight in actually fulfilling that. And then, yeah, babe, I'll go change the freaking diaper. It's like, you've been doing it majority of the time or whatever it is. It's not to say like, I'm not going to do that as a man, or like I'm not a man, but you know what I mean? That's not what you're saying. But there is definitely a complementary team that happens, and those roles are absolutely different. And over the years, we have diluted that, and we've made it to be like, if you're a woman and you're seen as the nurturer, then like you're becoming weak. And you have a lot of women that are trying to push that off. And that's where you have a lot of these like breakdowns in the relationships. It's really hard now to find that symmetry, because we've really corrupted what that looks like between man and woman.
Yeah. Even like the stay-at-home mom role has been attacked. It's like, well, why don't you want to be at work? And it's like my sister's about to sell one of her companies and become a stay-at-home mom. Like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
totally
badass. Like, I don't, it's just sort of, they've basically attacked like the best way of like living a life. So we just have to ignore it, and let's all be badass, and everyone else is going to join the party at some point, because they're realizing that there's some fucking weirdos over there, and they're going to come to us.
I agree. And everybody needs to get some gear. So like, if you're watching this, you know what we're talking about. If you're tuning in, we've talked about logos. We've talked about like my shirt. So Mike, what are we talking about? Tell us about the brand that you and Jen founded together this was after, right? After policing and after she left nursing?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny actually. And I joke around about it sometimes, and I probably should do it. There's an asshole reporter from the Toronto area that wrote like a brutal hit piece on me after I spoke on the phone with him for like an hour, and nothing that I told him was in the actual article, except for 2 words that were in my Instagram post that went viral, was non-negotiable. And the title of his article was "Non Negotiable Cop Quits Over Mandates." I'm pretty sure it was. And there was that always, it just like stuck in my brain. It never left. I'm like, babe, there's something here, and messed around a bit, made a non-negotiable freedom hat, and then it just exploded. And at first it was pretty much just like, hey, if you want to wear this, especially for the people like we've talked about earlier who are quiet, they're, like you said, not everybody's going to be standing on a soapbox yelling shit or having a podcast or using their voice, but they agree with every single thing that you and I say, or that we believe in, that we have the same moral compass. Like along all major subjects, politics, we all pretty much agree on a lot of things. And if they're afraid to use their voice, then all they have to do is just wear this or wear one of our products, because it stands for something. And I didn't realize how much it actually like meant to people until MYM, and we actually met people in person, and they're like crying and telling me their story and how much they appreciate what we did and what we say. And I'm like, oh my God. And everyone's crying, and I'm crying, everyone's hugging and shit. And like at MYM, and even the Kid Carson one last year, like seeing people in person instead of just like mailing shit and DMs, it's just not the same. And you actually see people, and it's just like how much it's actually impacted people to be part of something, because so many of us were just like, again, couldn't go out to dinner, couldn't go to the rink. It's like we were all like a bunch of nothings. And I think that they feel like they're part of something, and they know that we're never going to cower. Like this logo is always going to mean the right shit, no matter what. Like they can come to me and be like, you can't use Shopify anymore because we don't agree with you. No problem. We'll find another way. Don't care. Don't give a shit. Right? If someone says, I have a problem with this and you're going to lose your real estate license. Okay, fuck you. I'm going to keep going. We'll never, ever cower. Like Under Armour, they sold themselves out. Nike, they've sold themselves out. All these companies they just cater to the woke, psychotic, everything, right? Which we'll never do. And I think people know that. Well, I know people know that.
Yeah, big time. And I love your guys' stuff. We're linking everything up to in the show notes. So wherever you're tuning in from, make sure you click below, get some gear, rock it, tag Jen and Mike in it. They would love to connect with you guys. And we just want to see, and it's cool too, right? Like I think in previous COVID times, it's like you're a competitor with other people, but I'm sure you guys have felt this, where it's pretty wild to have so many people almost kind of take ownership of your guys' brand. Like it's like my brand. I'm like, yeah, we need to see more people rocking this, and it's yours. It's not mine.
It's the people's brand.
It is. I love that. It's the people's brand, but I think for me, it's like you were saying earlier, you're welcome here and you're wanted here, and that when you're wearing this gear, the non-negotiable brand, that's what it solidifies.
Yeah. And even simple reminders like the line in the sand hoodie. That's a sort of like a two-parter. The C21 or what was the one where they banned the gun? C21. They banned so many things and fucking numbers. And so just the gun ban for law-abiding gun owners so it's a two-parter. Know your line in the sand, just like your non-negotiables. Like those are concrete. Those are fucking, those do not move. Right? Like behind my line are my kids. Done. You come to it, you're fucking done. It's over. Like it's just a reminder. Like don't ever bend on like your core values. Like those are yours. No one can fuck with those. Not your parents, not your best friends. Like I've lost family. I've lost fucking really close friends. And honestly, I don't give a fuck because they weren't what I thought they were. So if you can leave the house and even like if wearing it, you feel part of something, and your confidence builds, which I hope it does. That's fucking awesome. That's all I want. It's honestly all I want. And then eventually we want to like build schools and shit and do some really badass fucking things, but like sponsor female athletes and all that stuff. Like that's further down the list. But yeah, just the shit that women are dealing with now. It's just so strange. It's just like, it's like the Leah Thomas story. And like, it's just all these, like the Riley Gaines, the swimmer. And I'm like, how the fuck did this happen?
I know.
Like,
and we're still fighting for our spot as women again.
Yeah, like I'm a feminist now. I'm a real one, like not a fake one that wears like a pussy hat at a fucking at one of those weird marches. You know those and the ones that bark and shit. Like no, like I don't know. I think there's a duty now, like, and especially for the boys. Like if a fucking boy, when Riley's 15 or 16 or whatever age that the girls and the boys split apart in hockey, if a fucking boy comes on the ice, I'm fighting his dad. Like done. No, sorry. Not a fucking chance is this happening. So like again, like people are gonna do like, oh, that's a fucking extremist logo. No, this means like we're protecting our girls. So like we've done hats for an entire girls hockey team that says we are non-negotiable on the sides. Fucking badass. I'm so happy with that one. But like we all have to send the message, whether it's at home behind closed doors at dinner, or whether it's sporting the brand, which means something and it'll never change, or
and you guys just launched the non-negotiable kids too, right?
Yeah, we're actually going to do hoodies for the winter. That's coming too. There's so much coming, and again, like I feel bad for my supplier because I think we've grown quickly enough. And again, this is me speaking as not an entrepreneur or a new one, so I speak right out of my ass. We're sitting at one of the tables at the VIP days, and they're like all talking about all these like business lingo, and I'm like, guys, I don't fucking know what you're talking about. Like we're winging this. So I think like my supplier, I drive him crazy because our orders are like multiplying by crazy amounts, and we're shipping it out of our house. Our dining room, living room is a fucking warehouse / like our real estate desk. It's ridiculous. So we're trying to do a lot of cool things, but do it right so it doesn't come across as or fucked up, at least.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, let me pivot, Mike, because you just brought up real estate. I'm in real estate. You're in real estate. How has your guys' decision or your voice, how has that impacted your real estate business? And actually, before you even answer that, I mean, you were an officer, you left policing, you weren't a realtor. It was only Jen. So
we both started at the same time.
Oh, you both started at the same time.
Yeah. So we have a few investment properties that we've rented out. Actually, our first house, when we moved out, we didn't sell it. We rented that. So we've been like buying and selling and renting real estate forever. So it was like, I think it was New Year's Eve, 2020 to 21, when the world was starting to be fucked. We were playing a drunken game of Yahtzee, and I'm like, babe, let's become realtors, because one of my buddies was just finishing up the course, and that was it. The next day we sent in our IDs and like high school transcripts, whatever, and 8 months later we were licensed. And it was just like, at that point we didn't think we were gonna be forced to quit or get fired, literally at the exact same time.
Right.
But in terms of like how it's affected our real estate, and I've used this example. Actually, I used it at MYM with a couple of people who were afraid to speak up because of like financial backlash, I guess. I won't give you a number, but I can tell you that because we spoke the fuck up, we have made a lot more money.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
Not even close to the same.
And so did you just have, I guess, like through Instagram, you guys were finding, or like, I guess they're finding you new clientele?
Yeah. So we full blown people have had us sell their house, buy houses, because we all believe the same thing, and they were happy with what we did. And they used us to sell. Like, I mean, I'll say it's a good thing we actually fucking know what we're doing, because that's important, because they could have learned the hard way. But no, we've just because we spoke up, and I think it's again, stars aligned. He's watching out for us. Mm-hmm. And I think that will happen for anybody that does it. If you do the right thing, and especially when it isn't cool, so many people will respect you for it. And like we have credibility. Like people know that we're going to tell the truth no matter what, if it hurts us or helps us. Like
Yeah.
I've walked away from deals and got into it with realtors and got into it with people and walked away from like 30, 40K commissions. No fucking problem.
Yeah.
Because it's the fucking right thing to do sometimes.
Yep.
Right?
It is. And I mean, some people might listen to that and go, that may not be their story. As I shared with you a little offline, like that was not, hasn't been my full experience. You know, we've lost agents on the Invidiata team because of my viewpoints, or like speaking out, even though they agreed. Like that's a wild thing, right? It was like, even though they agreed, it was like they felt it was going to be affecting their business. And I understand that for them, you know, and making that decision. But I do very, very much believe that, as you pointed up, you know, he's always watching. And for me, it comes back to knowing the truth. It's not even my truth. I hate that line.
It's
Oh,
so
this is
dumb.
my truth. Like I hate it.
I'm
I'm like,
so glad you said that.
yeah, but because it's like, seriously, like critical thinking, logical thinking. If you're sitting across from me and you have your truth and I have my truth and they're not the same, so one of us has to be wrong. We could both be wrong, but certainly one of us has to be wrong. And so for me, it's not, I like I do, I hate that line. And I always say truth doesn't need a defense, never needs us to defend it. It stands on its own. It stands through any test you put it through. My role is just to present it, and through love and light. That's it. The
Yep.
only thing that will ever change if you start to see things differently is your perspective of the truth. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The whole line doesn't even make sense. Like it's not even, it's just some line that some fucking donkey made up because it sounds fluffy and nice and whatever. Like, yeah,
but
like you
that's
said,
the world we live in. That's the cushion, right? It's like, well, if it feels good for you, then you know you should do it. And it's like, what the hell does that mean? Where is the actual standard? And according to who? According to what? Right? And that can be pushed into a whole other agenda too. If it feels good for you, talk about pedophiles that want to rape kids, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a thing. It's coming. This is the runway. So it's like, if we lose sight of what actual truth is, and it's not my opinion. That's what I always say. It's like my opinion, Shay's opinion, Mike's opinion actually does not fucking matter. What matters is the truth. That's it. And so that you can test it, you can try it, and every single time it's going to come up. And so, you know, I do really believe that we are in a hard time. Some of probably maybe the hardest that most of us will ever experience in our lifetime. And not even that it's a test, but I do believe that God is faithful and that you will always be taken care of. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. You could be like Job years, 7 years of all kinds of hell and shit and losing it all. Like it does not mean you're always going to make quote unquote more, right? Like your story is different than my story. But I think the outcome at some point is the same, you know, like not necessarily like in monetary, like our bank accounts are going to match up, but I do believe that we will be blessed. We are taken care of. And like, I really believe God is faithful when you're not wavering like that and you are confident in knowing that what you are doing is the right thing.
Yeah.
Especially when it's hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No,
Right?
he knows what's right for all of us. And like you said, yeah, money isn't everything.
No.
I mean, it's fucking great when it makes things better. Like, let's not be fucking like without money, you can't do anything. It does this like money. Does money buy happiness? It can make things easier, and then maybe you're happier. Like, but yeah, I think if you're doing the right thing for the right reason, then like we win. And as soon as I quit and my DMs blew up for like 3 years in a row, like at the start, I just telling people we win. Like I know it. It doesn't matter. Like when Jesus comes back to fuck shit up, I just want to watch all these demonic, sick motherfuckers get it. Like, and I'm not worried about anything. And maybe that's, it's not, maybe it's my faith. And like, I don't push it on people, but I think it's
No, but
the
you're
truth.
rooted.
Like you said, it's
It's
the
rooted
truth.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the truth. And like, before I quit, I prayed, and my faith came back to me when all this happened. I sort of walked away. I was like one of those kids who was like forced to go to church, didn't know why. No one really explained anything to me. But like, as soon as I was praying about, like, I'm like, I need to leave. All of a sudden I just felt peace, like pure peace. Like, Jen's like, I'm getting fired. I'm like, well, I'm quitting. She's like, what the fuck you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I'm quitting. I can't fucking do this anymore. This is insane. Everything feels right about leaving, and everything has turned out right. So like, I don't know, you fucking tell me. I think, again, like, if you do the right thing and it's not cool,
Yeah.
I promise you, it's probably the right fucking decision.
Yeah.
Just because, think, like, we're day oneers. Like, we're day one guys.
Yeah.
Like, we called this shit the whole time.
Yeah.
So we have credibility now. So I really hope that people, that are listening to this, if you're still questioning what the fuck happened, like, I would just listen to the people who are saying what's unpopular at the moment.
Totally. Well, and even because as you're talking, what was coming up for me is that oftentimes, not every single time, but oftentimes the right decision is the hardest decision. And that's like how you can simplify a lot of things. It's like when you think about needing to extend forgiveness, apologizing, whatever it is, right? Doing that right thing is oftentimes the harder thing. And that's like where is what you need to do. And even on the other side, I always say that everything in life worth fighting for that's worth it is on the other side of hard. Everything you want is on the other side of hard, and I use the gym a lot as a metaphor because that's what most people get. Like, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? But like that dedication and what you want and how you want to feel and how you want to look is everything's on that other side of hard, of like showing up, putting in the time, doing the work, the discipline, sacrifice, saying no. Is it easy? No, but it's worth it. That's worth it. And so in this scenario as well, it's like, if you're contemplating maybe some things that you went through, like, I'm sure your story is bringing things up for people. And when you think about what's the right thing to do, it's probably the harder decision. Usually it's.
Yeah. Like, if you're sitting like at family gatherings and shit, and you're like the one there and you can't talk because that your crazy uncle is going to yell at you, or your crazy aunt or whatever, like, you're living in prison. And not to say you have to gas your whole family, but like, there are people that I love dearly who are not a part of my life.
Totally.
And I think boundaries are a thing. And I just love the fact that, especially with Jen and I and our kids, like, they see the real us. Like, we're real. Like I think it's the only healthy way to live, at least. Like, not to say I don't, get into the red wine or fucking act unhealthy sometimes, but like, just like being in a prison within your own mind and not being around people that you feel safe with being yourself. Fuck, man, I would reassess your circle, because that must suck.
I agree. Big time. Big time. So, okay, Mike, what's next for you guys?
Well, we got a couple cool things coming, some winter things coming. Jen's actually got another venture. We went from like government paycheck people to like just starting a bunch of businesses, and Jen's got something cool coming. I'll let her do that. Okay. But we're so fucking busy. With the real estate, we still got things going on with that, and Non Negotiable Brand's definitely taking up a lot of our time, just because I think we see how important it is, and we just have to do it. So we've got some things coming, even for the Americans. If you got some American listeners on here, we got something cool coming for the Americans.
I do. And I mean, I know a lot of them jive with you. So
I identify as an American sometimes.
Me too, actually. It's funny that you say that, but I do as well. I lived there for 3.5 years. And so it's very much, I feel like, in my blood, as much as it's not literally in my blood.
Yeah, we're going down for American Thanksgiving. My sister, because of the world going all fucked, they sold everything they owned up here and moved to Florida.
Cool.
So we're going to go down there for American Thanksgiving.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
Well, it's a freedom state. I'm looking down there right now as well to relocate some stuff. So
Never know.
Mike, I feel like, I mean, we could seriously just like keep going. I feel like I'm like Joe Rogan. We're coming for you.
Yeah.
You know,
On our way.
But I'm so grateful to just connect with you and also just like learn more about your story through you coming on today. And I have so much love and respect for you and Jen and the mission that you guys are on. Thank you for coming. I want to ask you one last question because I ask everybody this. When you think about being the CEO of your life, not newly as CEO of your businesses, which is pretty badass and cool. Yeah. But when you think about being like the CEO of your life, how does taking ownership over your decisions, how has that brought you freedom?
Ownership over my decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. It's a big one. Fuck. Well, fuck it. Well, even in the good or the bad, right? I guess not every decision turns out to be the right one either, even if you believe in it so much. So yeah, I think it's everything. Yeah, I guess pretty much just try to own every decision I make, whether it's even like a big or small one, right? But yeah.
I mean, you're sitting there right now, like looking at you in your freedom, which is also pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, you'll come back. Next time, we got to have Jen. We should do it next time. You and Jen come back.
Get on her. People get on her.
I will.
Right.
And if you guys want to hear that too, like drop that in the comments because Jen needs to see that too. And make sure you follow Mike, get some non-negotiable gear, and just drop them in the DMs. They respond in their DMs. So connect with Jen and Mike, and can't wait to have you guys back on together.
Heck yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into the Freedom CEO podcast. If you got value out of today's show, I would love for you to leave a review as it will help my show reach other people as well. You know what to do. Download this episode, click the like and subscribe button. If you feel like spreading more love, hop over to Instagram and share today's show in your stories. Remember to tag Shane Vidiata and the Freedom CEO. My DMs are always open, so drop me a line. I'd love to connect. Until next time, keep owning your decisions to live a life of freedom. Live a life you love.